Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we got all of these reads and man just jumping around from Jeremiah to 2 Kings to 2 Chronicles, back to Jeremiah chapter 37, then jumping to chapter 52, then back to 24, then back up to 29. And it was kind of tough to keep up with. For me, I had to keep my list to make sure that I was going to the right ones. But there were just so many good things in today's read. And I just want to hit some of the highlights. This was a group of chapters and verses that were put together for a reason, because it does make a complete story. It starts with tying up loose ends with King Jehoiakim, who was an evil king. Then we move through his 8-year-old son, who is evil. And then we go to his brother, Jehoiakim's second son, Jehoiachin, and then we get to good old evil Uncle Zedekiah. And so that's kind of the progression of this story. 2 Kings 24:7, we see the downfall of Egypt. And it's interesting to note here that once Egypt falls, they remain a nation even to this day. But this is the last time they were ever a world power, was when Babylon beat them up. 2 Kings 24:14 is a significant event, because it's when Israel has already gone into captivity, and now Judah is following, and the entire nation of Israel is taken into captivity. And they're all taken out of the promised land. Just really significant, kind of sad if you think about how we've led up to this point. 2 Kings 24:15, the very next verse, it doesn't say this, but we know this because of what we read yesterday. It says, "So he led Jehoiachin away into exile to Babylon, also the king's mother and the king's wives and his officials and the leading men of the land. He led away into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon." You know who else was in this group? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were part of this group that were in this exile. Just kind of neat to think about that. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 9. I can't help but ask myself, how much evil can one 8-year-old kid do in 3 months? He only reigned for 3 months, and he was 8 years old. But it says he did evil in the eyes of the Lord in those 3 months. I've known some really good 8-year-olds, but then again, I've known some 8-year-old kids that I could see doing a lot of terror in 3 months. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 12, we get to evil Uncle Zedekiah, who reigned, I think one said he reigned 11 years, and another one said he reigned 21 years, and I probably got that wrong, but he reigned a long time in place of the line of David. And it says he did evil in the sight of the Lord. And this is the big takeaway for me, and you'll understand why. He did not humble himself before Jeremiah, the prophet, who spoke for the Lord. He did not humble himself. That humility comes up again. And because he didn't humble himself, God says in Jeremiah 29:17, the sword, famine, and pestilence would follow him all the days of his life, and he would die by the sword. He lived a rough existence because he would not humble himself before God. Jeremiah 29:5. Jeremiah wrote a letter to King Nebuchadnezzar about the people of Judah, and he asked him to give it to the people of Judah. They were to take up a permanent residence, and in verse 7 it says, "Seek the welfare of the city." In other words, Judah, when you get into Babylon, be good citizens. Build houses and live in them, and be good citizens. And if they did this, you know what that would fulfill? Way, way back when God said, "You will be a nation of priests." They never did it. Here they have the opportunity to be the nation of priests that God has called them to all these years later. 29:11, Jeremiah 29:11 is one of my absolute favorite verses of all time. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for calamity, but to give you a future and a hope." God has plans to give you a future and a hope, not to harm you, but to give you a future and a hope. God wants good things for you. I think that's the best takeaway from all of this. So we're going to end with that today. Tomorrow we're going to read Jeremiah chapter 27 and 28, and then we're going to go backwards and read Jeremiah chapter 23. Read ahead. Let's find some law enforcement takeaways. Come back here and let's see what you get. Until then, you guys be safe.